Wake up, wake up. Yes, I know. It's Tuesday. It's not Monday, but, there was no game on Sunday. So, just wake up.
It
Just
works.
wake up. Wake up, post-combine edition fires right now.
Yeah, indeed. It's Tuesday, March 3rd, our first show here in the month of March. The Combine is behind us. And Larry, how you got back from Scottsdale without a single sunburn on you. Congratulations. You lotioned up, you stayed in shade, you wore a hat. I'm very proud of you. Got to take care of your skin. You only get one skin, so take care of it.
Yeah, no, seriously, had to do it. Did get some sunburn early in the trip, but tried to mitigate it a little bit with some lotion. But yes, we're back from Scottsdale. What an amazing trip it was to Scottsdale. And of course, we're off and running on the Krug Show meets the Plus, the Wake Up edition on a Tuesday. And of course, on our end, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California is Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. They're in Emeryville, Corte Madera, soon to open in Petaluma. When they do, we will be there for the grand opening. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. And then thanks to our sponsors for our trip to Scottsdale and our springtime sponsors. That's Alomar Marina, voted the best lunch spot in Sacramento. That's right, Sacramento's sports fans, game day destination. How about watching the game while you float on the Sacramento River? Alomar Marina, the best kept secret in Sacramento. They're at 5999 Garden Highway. They're open Wednesday through Saturday from 11 to 7, Sunday from 9 a.m. to 4. Try the shrimp tacos and sit there and float while you eat and dine on the Sacramento River. Really cool spot. And also thanks to Novato Chevrolet. Go see my man, Daniel Corral. He's the man to go to see. He will get you a steal of a deal. Tell him that Krug sent you. Great ownership, Novato Chevrolet. Been in the same spot for decades. The owner, Gus, is a good friend. So thanks to Daniel Corral, the man to go see. He will get you a great deal on a brand new Chevrolet. And tell them that Krug sent you, and they will treat you extra special there at Novato Chevrolet. And also, thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, the great Anthony Catania as well had a big hand in sending us down to Scottsdale as well. Nice. So thanks to all of our sponsors. The links are in the description for all of the sponsors.
We got a good afternoon from North Carolina. Thanks to YouTube, we are global here on Wake Up. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe on both channels. This comes from Sandwich Man. Hey, I got a sandwich man for you. His name is Ike, and hopefully there's one open wherever you live. Hopefully there'll be one near you soon enough. It's the fastest growing sandwich empire in America. Get yourself to Ike's for something delicious, and our friends at the Dubliner West Portal. We love you guys. Thank you very much for sponsoring as well. And Larry, let's just hop right into it. As you said, this is our post-draft edition here of Wake Up. And I'm guessing post-combine edition before the draft here on Wake Up. And I'm guessing that not just the 49ers, but every team in the NFL is reshuffling their deck a little bit right now after, some great combine workouts, maybe a few combine workouts or interviews that didn't go the way that a lot of people planned or saw. So it's a very interesting time in terms of every single NFL team's board this week. Plus, we get the news today that all your franchise tags have to be in by 1 o'clock our time, 4 o'clock Eastern. I think we've officially got 3 tags that have been put on players so far in the NFL. One of them is going to prevent Kyle Pitts from showing up in a 49ers uniform. It looks like we're going to see the Atlanta Falcons tag him. We've also got George Pickens getting tagged, and just maybe 20 minutes ago, the breaking news that, as we expected, Breece Hall of the New York Jets is also getting a franchise tag. And I only bring that up to kind of start with this before we get into the combine, what we saw, what we liked. The 49ers, I think, either need to reach a multi-year deal with Eddie Pinheiro by lunchtime or put a franchise tag on him. You never want to come at your kicker at the highest price point possible. But I don't want to go into next season without his dependable leg if I'm the San Francisco 49ers. Do you think they get a multi-year done with him or a tag?
Well, first of all, the tag does not guarantee that the player comes back.
I know.
There's lots.
It locks in a serious price point.
The reason teams tag players is so that they, oftentimes so they can control them and trade them. So there's been a lot of talk around Atlanta tagging and trading Kyle Pitts. I'm not saying they're going to, but there's been a lot of speculation. So just when you see a guy tagged, especially some of these running backs, you could be tagged and traded to Dallas. You could be tagged and traded to Kansas City. There are some teams that are really looking for a running back, and some of those guys like Breece Hall may not just get the tag. They may get the tag and the trade for a day 2 pick. So that's something to look for. But yeah, this is a big day, and it's a big week in a lot of ways for a lot of free agents, because anything that's going to happen, they say, like, give you an example. Albert Breer reported over the weekend, hey, he thinks Maxx Crosby is going to get dealt, and he's going to get dealt here in the next couple of days. If Brandon Ayuk is going to get dealt, he's going to get dealt here in the next day or two. So we're in that early March period, March 9th. We're 6 days away from the 2-day, pre-free agency tampering deal, where all the deals will be announced on the 9th, even though free agency opens on the 11th.
Right. And it's crazy. Everyone will say, well, why don't you just drop the flag, the green flag, and let everyone start racing on the 9th? Well, if they did that, teams would start tampering on the 7th. So, every single team is just looking to be the first on the patio or the front doorstep for these free agents. So this just allows everyone that sort of gray area to start talking to guys.
Well, this is a big week for adjustments, for trades. I mean, there were, the talk coming out of the combine was that that Mac Jones may not get traded because of all these other teams looking at all these other quarterbacks. There's some teams that like Kyler Murray, some teams like Jacoby Brissett, some teams don't want to pay the Niners prohibitive price tag. One of the interesting comments I thought coming out of the combine, if I see if I can find it here in my notes, was from Matt Barrow's piece, where somebody said, "Oh, is Kyle coming with him?" Kind of like, "Hey, we're going to trade that price tag. We're going to give the Niners the price tag they seek for Mac Jones." And it's like, well, are we getting Kyle too? In other words, there may be some sentiment that Kyle Shanahan is the reason that Mac Jones was good. And I categorically would push back on that. I do think that Kyle Shanahan is good for quarterbacks, but I don't believe for a second that Kyle Shanahan has made Brock Purdy. He's got a good offense. Brock's operating it well, but I don't believe that Brock Purdy would just be ass everywhere else. And I'm not a believer. And why do I believe this? Because non-Garoppolo quarterbacks under Shanahan, when Jimmy G went down in that Miami game and Brock came on, were 9-29. So
right.
He had tried a bunch of guys: Beathard, Mullins, Hoyer, others, Lance. They had looked at some other quarterbacks. It's not like you can just put any freaking Tom, Dick, or Harry out there and all of a sudden Shanahan's going to make them great. And if you think that, and if the Niners think that, man, that's not a good spot to be in, because yes, Shanahan's offense helps, but let's not pretend that Shanahan made Mac Jones. Come on, Mac Jones played at 74% at Alabama.
I think that Kyle Shanahan absolutely helped fix Mac Jones, certainly did an awful lot to rehab just the allure of the name. He's a guy who wasn't able to have success in bad situations. He's put in a good situation here, and he had success. I think another good situation would benefit Mac Jones, and he would benefit that situation as well. Obviously, Kyle is good at this. And when you look at the guys who left Kyle, it's not like there's a lot of success right up until Sam Darnold. It's not like guys studied under Kyle, went somewhere else, and really took off in their careers. Most guys regress the minute they get out of that 49ers uniform. But when it comes to all this news, remember, a handful of weeks ago, it was the 49ers saying definitively, we're not interested in trading Mac Jones. That was to set a market price. Now you got the market saying, Yeah, we're really not interested in Mac Jones. That's to bring that price down a little bit. The French have a word for all of this. It's called bullshit. And what I think, Larry, more than anything else, is Mac Jones coming out of this combine has more of a market than he did going in. And when you see this coming from an NFL insider, NFL insiders are being asked to feed information from teams to the public to get a conversation going. And I actually think Mac Jones is going to be traded. I think he's going to get the 49ers a very decent haul. And there isn't maybe one or two college quarterbacks who could make the argument, nor is there really one or two free agents that could make the argument that they will represent a better chance to win at a price point of value than Mac Jones can represent for a team coming up. Who would you rather have? Kyler Murray for an awfully loud song, or Mac Jones for, a very reasonable price? I would rather have Mac Jones.
It's an interesting question. I mean, they're both first round quarterbacks. I mean, it really kind of depends. I mean, it's like, I'm a believer that your quarterback has to be one of your hardest workers. So if Kyler Murray is really this guy who doesn't work hard, then he's not your guy. If that report is erroneous and he actually works really hard, then maybe he is your guy, because he's a really, really talented quarterback. I think Kyler Murray needs to go somewhere, take a timeout, and rehabilitate his career, and just take a new path, learn from a new voice, learn from a new starter, back somebody up, and you've already made your money, man. You've already got more money than you need. I mean, you've got over probably $150 to $200 million you've already made off the field. You made the right call. You spurned baseball for football. For quarterbacks, it's the one position you can do it and actually benefit financially. He's done that. So it's not like you sit there and go, oh, you should have played baseball. No, he played football. He made the right decision. But now he's made the money, but his career is in the toilet. And everybody thinks he's a dog with fleas who's talented but doesn't really give a shit. And he needs to go rehabilitate if he wants to have some guys go into the pros and they're just like, hey, man, I just want to make a grip of cash, stay healthy, have some fun, take care of my family, and that's it. That's fine. Other guys are like, I need to win championships. If he needs to win championships, he needs to have a game plan to do that, because it's not going to happen just going from the Cardinals to the Raiders to this to that. Because, like, give you an example. I do agree that Kyle Shanahan helped Brock Purdy. I do. The same way I would agree that Sam Darnold being a Seattle Seahawk really helped him a whole lot more than if he had been, I don't know, a Raider. Do you really think that Sam Darnold last year would have done the exact same thing that he did for Seattle, which was lead them to a Super Bowl and win it and play well in the playoffs? Would he have done that with the Raiders? No. So,
look, NFL success is predicated on
no. Do you agree with that?
Talent. Yeah, I mean, NFL success is predicated on just your talent and your situation. You're in control of your talent. You're not really in control of your situation. So, I'm going to tell you right now, had Tom Brady been drafted by the San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Raiders, the teams that if Tom Brady had been a Cleveland Brown, you would not have heard much about Tom Brady. Certainly wouldn't be regarding him as one of the greatest players to ever play the game. Situations matter. And
I think so too. I mean, I know there are those who would say, no, Tom Brady would have elevated the Browns.
He would have, but to that degree where he's regarded as the single greatest to ever do it with one of the most successful dynasties ever led, zero chance that happens in Cleveland. Zero chance that happens with the New York Jets. You could have put Bill Belichick as coach of the Browns or the Jets with Tom Brady. They would not have come close to the success that they had with the New England Patriots.
Yeah, so, I mean, a lot of it is about where you wind up and your situation and who's around you and that kind of thing. And I just think that people look at Mac Jones and I'm not sure what they see, but I'll say this. I've been covering the 49ers the last number of years, and I saw Mac Jones practice every day, and I saw Sam Darnold practice every day, and I saw them both play in games. And I would sit here and say, without a doubt, Mac Jones is better than Sam Darnold. He processes better. He makes fewer mistakes. He takes better care of the football. He can run multiple offenses. He's got the same kind of issues as far as, neither is Brock Purdy or Kyler Murray. They're both pocket passers who are relatively immobile. They don't. Sam's got a little bit better, stronger athletic body, but what difference does that make if you can't really run? So I mean, it's like he's Darnold's probably looks better in taking his shirt off at the beach, but Jones is probably, if they both played 10 years in the NFL, going to have a better record and a better touchdown to interception ratio.
And he's a likable guy.
Percentage.
I mean, that's another thing you saw firsthand. The team really responds to him. He's got a great sense of humor, which is an absolute, I think, almost necessary layer of armor that a quarterback needs. You got to be able to laugh at yourself. You got to be able to giggle through the bad moments, because there's going to be a lot of them. And there's going to be a lot of pressure. And Mac Jones seems to just have the right attitude for a starting quarterback. I think he's going to be a starting quarterback. And I do think the 49ers are going to be dipping into a day 2 or 3 pick, and then multiple picks or a player. And I do think that Mac Jones will be moved, even though I've been one of the ones to say, don't do that, or be careful if you do that, because of this combine that we just saw. This combine's dripping with talent. This NFL draft, Larry, is dripping with talent. And I know that we say that every year, right? We do. We say that. But the one category where it's not dripping with talent is quarterback. That ups the Mac Jones situation. And it just shows you.
Should, for sure. I don't know if it has. I mean, we're going to find out, I guess, if it has.
There's less of a Mac Jones market. My ass there is. My ass. I just think it's total nonsense. I think it's slow news week. Hey, we know that this part of the story's out here. Let's go in the other direction. Lots of teams want him. Nah, no teams really are that interested. It's all kind of nonsense this time. I think when the rubber meets the road, the Niners are trading Mac Jones for several picks in a very deep draft. And I got to tell you, Larry, and I know that we talked about this last week when you were in Scottsdale. There were a couple offensive linemen who performed in a manner which I think makes the 49ers have to rethink their draft board. I agree with you. If you ever want to know what's going to happen in the future, see what's happened in the past. It's a good indicator. What is past is prologue, yada, yada. Defensive line. The need of defensive line can't be argued with only 20 sacks last year. We get it. But man, oh man, oh man. Monroe Freeling.
I knew you were going to say this.
Ran like the wind, Larry.
We were going to talk so many times between now and April. You have to get more than a Monroe Freeling. Well, I can't listen to a steady diet of Monroe Freeling.
I'm giving you Caden Proctor. To go along with that, because he really slimmed down, looked faster, looked more like an athlete than just a big mountainous dude than he got credit for when he was at Alabama. And Caleb Lomu, also great combine, man. Let's see these guys on the Niners draft board. I would love to see it. And then I'll talk about the one other name, Larry. But here's the thing: I don't want to be shushed when it comes to the importance of offensive line here. I don't.
Well, here's the thing. Here, there's the Niners are probably not going to go offensive line in round 1. Why? Because
I think it's a mistake.
If they go offensive line in round 1, they probably need to go guard, because they're not going to draft a tackle. They're not going to spend their first round pick on somebody who's not going to play this year. And they don't think that tackle is going to play over Colton McKivitz or Trent Williams.
I think you ask them to play guard.
They just re-signed Austin Pleasance.
I think you ask either one of these guys, Freeling or Proctor, to play guard.
The guy that I think is their guy, if you said to me, man, you what? Now, granted, I was playing golf. I'm watching Cactus League games. I taped the entire combine. I'll be up on it within the next day. But the Georgia offensive lineman, Micah Morris, is their guy. This guy is really amazing. 6'5" and a quarter, 334 pounds. Broad jump 9'4", 45.09, 50-plus games in college. 5 starts at right guard, 13 starts at left guard. He's played all over the line. Somebody described him as a heavy-handed bouncer, but what he is just a gigantic, dominant player. Why is he such a good fit for the Niners? Because the Niners really love speed in their offensive linemen. And the stat that they really value the most is that 10-yard split.
Monroe Freeling.
But Micah Morris had the best 10-yard split. He had a 1.73 10-yard split. I think that was the best among all the guards. This guy was not supposed to be a very high pick. He was supposed to probably be a late day 3 pick. But now I think that this is a guy the 49ers are going to take a real good look at, because they love those two guys that they talked about drafting that they instead took Upton Stout because the Raiders went with Charles Grant and Caleb Rogers. Those guys had really, really awesome 10-yard splits. And if you look at the Niners offensive linemen that they have drafted, they love the guys who have not just the grade 40. The grade 40 is awesome, but it's that great initial 10 yards, and 1.73 for Micah Morris, and he's a house. So to me, that's the guy right there. I would
give you
draft
another
him.
offensive lineman if you're
He's
talking
a guard,
like,
he's a mid-round guy.
Well, so I'm going to give you a mid-round guy. I'm going to give you a late day 2 guy. To me, Jake Slaughter out of Florida. You need a center. I want an upgraded center. This guy is the best center coming out of the SEC. I think he is not a day 1 or 2 guy necessarily. Could be a third rounder. Could be I guess third round is day 2, right? It's 2, right? Yeah. So day 3 could be a third round guy, or second round, or fourth round guy. I just think that Slaughter is another. If you really want to go interior, go as interior as your interior offensive line gets and correct what is an indefensible weakness at center. And I'm not saying Brendel's bad, but if we had to line up all the 49ers offensive linemen and rate them from strongest to weakest, I think a lot of people got Brendel coming in 4th or 5th in the conversation. For whatever reason, the Niners, they stump for their player every single chance they get. A guy like Jake Slaughter, to me, would make an awful lot of sense. But let me just...
He's the highest rated center. He's probably going to go in the 3rd round. I like him a lot. Now, there's some really good centers here. Brian Parker from Duke, the right tackle. I think he's probably going to go day 3, maybe late 3rd round, early 4th round. I love him. Logan Jones of Iowa and Parker Brailsford of Alabama tested out as awesome movers. Jones and Iowa run the exact same system the Niners run. Your guy, Coogan from Indiana, is probably going to be a late day 3 center of note. And
he's a round 5, round 6 guy.
I actually think he might be an undrafted player when it comes down to it, because he's not a very good athlete. But he's tough and he's smart, and we'll see. I mean, I love him, but I have a feeling when they really go through it fine-tooth comb, they're gonna mark him down. But this was an amazing draft for these interior guys. To me, the 5 guys that I would absolutely consider drafting at 27 if I'm the Niners are these guards. Ola Ione from Penn State. Emmanuel Pregnon from Oregon is just a dominating, awesome athlete. He was a great player, too. Chase Besantis from A&M had a phenomenal combine, 6'5", 320, athletic. I think Jennings Dunker, Damon, might be more of a guard than a tackle. And to me, the best guard.
Did you see the Jennings Dunker combine video where he just has that glorious red mullet bouncing in the? Oh man,
he's awesome.
That guy looks like an offensive lineman. If there ever
was
one.
Jennings Dunker. Love Jennings Dunker. But Keelan Rutledge was my favorite offensive lineman for the Niners. I mean, to me, he is the plug and play. He's a brawler. He's got the wrestling background. He's athletic. His testing numbers were off the charts. He plays to the echo of the whistle. This guy's nasty. To me, if Burford is going to walk and they need a starter at left guard, it's not the sexiest pick, but I could see Keelan Rutledge. The way I look at this draft, if I were the Niners, if I could find somebody who would take my 1st round pick at 27 and get me into the 2nd round, and if I could use Mac Jones to see if I could get a couple of 2nd round picks from one of these teams that has 2, I would try to load up with as many picks in that 2nd round as possible. Just because I think it's the money round. I was looking at the names in that round. I think there's like, if you could go, instead of looking for that home run pick, the second round pick is a little bit more of a, a little bit more of a workman like pick. But to me, that's the round. If you could get 3 or 4 picks in that second round, you could really make hay. So I like the idea of trading Mack for a player, but if you could somehow get some team to give you a couple of 2s, wow. I mean, in this draft, I think you could really fill you want to catch Seattle, trade Mack for a couple of 2s and then hit on guys that can become starters and if not stars. And I think you're well on your way to becoming, a contender. Again.
I think that there is an awful lot of value all over this draft. So trading back is not something that I'm going to even argue with. It might be the right thing to do. But I just want to return to Monroe Freeling or Caden Proctor. Or look, here's the thing. If you want the nicest car,
those guys are going to be gone, by the way. I don't know about Proctor, but Freeling for sure is not going to be there at 27. Did you see his workout? His workout was tremendous. I mean, his numbers at that size are going to prevent him from being where the Niners.
You would think. So
I would say almost for sure.
So then you highly back me that if he's there at 27, he's the easiest draft pick to make, right?
Well, no, because the Niners don't want to take offensive linemen that high. They want to take offensive linemen in the second round or third round.
I'm just saying, it's just, Larry, it's not working for them. Okay,
they're not. Damon, they're not going to. If they have a bad year, they could be fired. I mean, Shanahan not, but probably Lynch. Do you really think he's going to draft a player who, if things go well, is not going to play? Monroe Freeling.
What do you mean he's not going to play?
He's a 6'7", 315-pound tackle. He's a
moves like a guard. Who moves like a guard. And there's
first of all, guards move slower than tackles.
There's no shame at all. There's no shame.
You want a guard that move. You want a guard that moves like a tackle, not a tackle that moves like a guard. This guy is 6'7", 315 pounds.
Look, man,
35-inch arms.
You got to come and pull and do kick out blocks. You got to be fast no matter where you are. There's no room for any slowpoke on the offensive line anywhere anymore, especially in Shanahan's offense. But I would just say that you take the best player you can and you put him on the field. Don't tell me there's no room for Monroe Freeling playing guard, and there's certainly no shame not playing ahead of Trent Williams, who's going to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. If you want more points, get your offensive line right. If you want an offense where everyone eats, get your offensive line right. If you want to protect your quarterback, get your offensive line right. If you want your running game to pop and get those now mandatory to have them explosive plays, get your offensive line right. And if you want a better rested, better defensive effort, get your offensive line right. I have watched the Niners try to balance beam themselves and come up short all the time. Are you tired of coming up short? Just a little short in every single big game Kyle Shanahan has coached? I know I am. I know you are. I know the fans are. The offensive line is literally the heart, soul, the bones, the skeleton. It's the everything of a football team. I don't care if it's unsexy. It's the most important thing. I don't give a fuck who your wide receivers are if your offensive line is right. You can have a guy at running back if your offensive line is right. It fixes everything. It protects everyone. This is non-negotiable to me. The Niners, I know that they probably won't, and we'll probably not be watching them win another Super Bowl this year. You know, I mean, it's just keep on doing the same thing over and over again. How's it working for you? You know,
well, it's not okay. I mean, it's not that they don't think their offensive line's important. It's that their offensive line, they're not going to invest a first round draft choice in somebody who's going to sit the bench. And they are 20th. The 40 your description of their offensive line, where do they rank in pass block win rate?
They're middle.
Where do they rank in run block win rate?
Middle.
Where do they rank in sacks? last by a massive margin. So
right, but I can also
they have absolutely no linebackers at all. They have
Nick
no
Bosa
receivers
would they have
at
done
all. I'm just saying they have no receivers, no linebackers. Their defensive line, which is the focus of their team, is not rated highly. It's the worst defensive line going right now. So I mean, these things are going to take priority. I agree with you. I'd like to see them go offensive line. I don't need to see them go Monroe Freeling. By the way, Monroe Freeling is, according to Tankathon, is going 17. They have this is how they have the offensive line coming off the board. They have Maui Goa going 3rd, Spencer Fano from Utah going 6th, Vega Ione, who the Penn State guard who I love, going 14, Monroe Freeling, the tackle from Georgia, going 17, and Caleb Lomu going 23, and they have Proctor going to the Niners at 27. This is Tankathon. And then the next
I would feel good about that.
See, to me, the guy that I would want would be, based on what I've heard this weekend and saw, would probably be Lee Hunter. Everybody who came out of the interviews was like, Lee Hunter's a leader. Lee Hunter's the man. Texas Tech's defense was awesome. This guy can rush the passer. This guy's strong against the run. I mean, I would probably go Lee Hunter. But you know what? They need a guard. They need a starting left guard. So do you draft a guard like an Emmanuel Pregnon? The other guy that to me is the ultimate wild card in this draft is the ASU kid. I mean, Ian Hancher is just an absolute monster that has to be kind of evaluated again. I mean, this guy was really, really great. I thought he looked amazing at the Senior Bowl, and then I'm like, well, I don't know, man. He's kind of a freaky athlete. He's a bizarre player to look at for sure. But man, that guy is something else. He is something else. We're talking about a guy who's, last year ASU produced Cam Scattaboo, and this year they've got, and that was a compelling draft story. And this year, this Ian Hancher, former high school basketball player, Damon, born in Nigeria, moved to the U.S. at 13, 6'6", 321. He ran 4.91 in the 40. Broad jumped 9.7, moved incredibly well in the on-field drills. Unbelievable. I mean, this was one of the best athletes. His O-line coach at ASU, Joe Conley, described him as super athletic and a great kid. It's this guy stuck around for one more season, didn't leave early, and he's a developmental guy, but wow. I mean, this is a ridiculous. You just don't see guys who are 330 pounds that move like that. Yeah. I mean, you look at him and you're like, whoa, that guy, if you get the proper coaching with that guy, and you could have something truly, truly special. But I mean, the other name to remember, one other name to remember on this tackle group, if you're looking for an offensive lineman for the Niners, don't sleep on Blake Miller. He had a really, really good combine. He's a very good player. He played at Clemson, in very much the same size as your guy, Monroe Freeling, right? 6'7", 317 pounds.
A lean 6'7".
Former wrestler. So this guy's got the great balance, great tenacity, kind of a forgettable name, Blake Miller, right? Kind of a forgettable name, but remember that name come draft weekend.
Remember that forgettable name. Hey, like and subscribe. Thank you so much for being here for a little special Tuesday wake up edition. He's Larry. I'm Damon. Thank you so much for stopping on by. We've been talking nothing but steak, and I do think it needs to be a steak first round pick offensive line. I really do. I believe it. I'm going to go to my grave saying that's a way to fix all problems. But if you want more sizzle, and this would be something that are like, all right, even though
here's the thing. Do they need Aaron Schatz of ESPN says that they're going to sign Joel Bitonio, 7-time Pro Bowl left guard in free agency.
Okay.
So,
Now
so
now we can maybe move off the offensive line.
Well, here's the thing about this. That is more likely to happen. Why? Because the Niners, I've heard this said by Chris Furster, is that there's a belief that the teams that draft the offensive lineman high are going to be back again drafting high next year because offensive linemen take time to develop. And if you draft them really high, you're forced to play them. And if you're forced to play them, then, they struggle. Like we saw in the
Dominic
Super Bowl.
Mooney had a better freshman year than he did sophomore year.
Well, look at the guy. Look at Will Campbell in the Super Bowl. That guy was a top 5 pick, and he absolutely got dominated in the Super Bowl.
He's going to be a good player.
Crap?
I wouldn't give up on him.
Yeah, no, he's good. Like if the Patriots put him on the market, the Niners would probably be like, yeah, we'll take Will Campbell. So he's a good prospect, but you saw baptism by fire. So if the Niners really do want to win next year, and they probably really do, my guess is that a couple of key spots where they need a starter, they're going to go for a veteran. So I would say whether it's Batonio or a cap casualty guard or whatever, I don't think it's going to be a high pick.
See, again, I would take the offensive lineman and get ready for that Trent Williams replacement now by seasoning him this year. That's the Trent Williams story is going to lord over. By the way, Trent Williams is not signed right now.
No, he might not even be here. I mean, exactly. That's the other thing. They may have to walk away from Trent Williams.
They better not. That can't happen.
If I'll say this: your Monroe Freeling fetish becomes more real if they walk away from Trent Williams.
I don't
know. Still, I don't think he's going to be here. I don't think he's going to be there. Like the fact that he's at 17 now, after that workout, and as much as the tackle spot is so coveted. Oh my God!
Yeah,
there's just so few guys walking around the earth who can do what you need the tackles to do. So
that's why I think when there's a chance to get one, you kind of have to. That's when it's there, you got to do it. But I'll give you this, Larry. I think everyone would agree that in the first 3 picks that the 49ers have, it's got to be a combination of O-line, edge, wide receiver. You can say D tackle instead of the edge, but it's going to, or you could even say linebacker there, but it's got to be offensive line, defensive badass, wide receiver. I'd love to see the first 3 picks you walk away with one guy that fits all 3 of those categories. For the first time, I have seen Omar Cooper Jr. rumored to the Niners at 27, which if you would have told me at the beginning of this football season, Omar Cooper Jr. is going to be a first-round draft pick, I would have said, no, it's crazy. And Elijah Surratt, by the way, is the better wide receiver on Indiana's football team. But Cooper had a great combine. He's being hailed as Deebo-like, which is going to get the 49ers sitting right up in their chairs and paying attention to him. Certainly Shanahan. If Omar Cooper Jr. became that first-round pick, as much as I'm saying it's trench warfare, and it is, from just an Indiana standpoint, I don't think I would. I don't think I'd do too many negative videos about that one. What would you think about Omar Cooper Jr. coming off the board in the first round of the 49ers? Would you do it if all the sizzle that if all the steak we were just talking about is gone? Would you want to go D-line? Any D lineman of your choice who you think is there at 27, or Omar Cooper Jr.? Which way are you going?
All right, you got a lot to unpack there. First of all, there was a rumor coming into Friday or Thursday from Tony Pauline saying that the Niners were interested in Chris Bell. Tony Pauline's generally all over the Niners stuff. So that makes me think they really like Chris Bell, which is an interesting one because Chris Bell is a top-tier receiver who is big. And in a lot of ways, Chris Bell, Damon, is the replacement for Ayuk and the replacement for JJ. He's a dominant yards after the catch, in-breaking route monster. He's 6'2", 220. He's big and he's strong and he runs through arm tackles. And he's tore his ACL, so he's probably going to be there at the end of the first round, if not in the second round. So immediately when I saw that,
damaged goods.
Well, when I first saw that, I thought, that's really interesting. One, I really like Chris Bell. a lot. Two, Tony is super clued in, and he had, the Niners like Isaac Guerendo, and they're going to take him in the 3rd round. Well, he was wrong. They took him in the 4th round, and it's not like Tony, Tony's just telling you what he's hearing. So he's not telling you that Guerendo is going to be great. He would have taken Guerendo. He's just telling you, hey, the Niners like Guerendo. And now he's telling you the Niners like Chris Bell. So either the Niners do like Chris Bell, right? And Tony found that out, or the Niners like another receiver and want to go receiver with that pick and want teams thinking they like Chris Bell. And then how's the receiver market going to go? Carnell Tate did not run well, but he's still going to go high. Mekhi Lemon, Jordan Tyson, Denzel Boston, those guys are all going to go in the top 20. Okay.
I think Mekhi Lemon's the first guy off the board, right?
Well, I don't know. He did some horrible interviewing. I don't know. He's an awesome talent, though. I'll just tell you that he's a great player, and I don't care what he says at the combine. He's awesome, but they're all really good. Carnell Tate's really good. Jordan Tyson's really good. They're all really good. Then the Niners are going to pick at 27. I think they're going to be looking at a group of receivers that includes Kevin Concepcion from A&M, who's got great speed, and is a run after the catch monster. Zachariah Branch from Georgia, who's a tiny player, 5'8", 175, but he also is strong as hell and fast as hell. He put up like a ton of bench and a ton of great 40 time. Then there's your guy Omar Cooper, who there's nothing not to like. I mean, every one of these Indiana prospects is just as solid as the day is long. I mean, Kalon Black, solid.
Can you say that again for me? These are things I've never heard about my alma mater coming into a draft before.
They got an amazing. They had an amazing class. They didn't win because of Signetti. Do not let people convince you.
They won
no, they did not.
No,
they didn't. They won because
he put it all together. They're his former players, a lot of them from JMU. Don't say a word about Signetti that isn't. He's the greatest coach. If you could fire Kyle Shanahan today and bring in Signetti, you'd do it.
No, it's not about that. It's about Signetti, the recruiter.
Oh,
that's what Signetti. That's why they won, because Signetti has tons of talent. Mikel Kamara is awesome. D'Angelo Pons is awesome. That blocking tight end is a Hulk. Omar Cooper is a total rock solid, total soup to nuts, polished receiver.
Again, Connington, he might not have tested well. He didn't have a great combine. He's not much of an athlete. He's a hell of a football player.
Yeah, I wouldn't take him in the first. He's not a first-round athlete.
No, he's not a first-rounder. No.
But some people, Matt Mayoko's got him going in the Niners in the first round. So then there's Jeremy. Yeah, he does right now. He's got then there's Jeremy Bernard. There's this Jacoby Lane from SC, had a tremendous combine. I had hers for tremendous combine. Alcott Fields, some people thought was round 1. He ran slow, so he will not be going in round 1. Bryce Lance, Trey's brother, ran fast. So my point is just that the Niners either really, really like Chris Bell, or they like one of these other receivers, and they want people thinking they like Chris Bell. And I just don't know who that other receiver is. It could be Concepcion. It could be Branch. It could be Cooper. It could be Jeremy Bernard. It could be Chris Brazel. But I think it's probably it could be Jacoby Lane. It's probably one of those guys. If it's not Chris Bell. So I love Chris Bell. But what I was just going to say, Damon, is that there's a list of guys who I think are going to be there for the 49ers at the end of the first round that I think none of these guys are going in the first round, but I think they're all first round talents. Chris Bell from Louisville would be 1. Zane Durant, the defensive tackle rusher from Penn State, would be 2. Zion Young, the defensive end from Missouri, would be 3. And those 3 guys, I think, are going to be first-round players in the NFL. I think all 3 of them are going to play really well, but I don't know that any are going to go in round 1. So if I'm sitting there at 27, I'm looking at those guys. To me, after watching this combine and knowing the Niners as I do, I would say if I had to bet right now on who they would draft at number 1, I would probably go with Zane Durant. Now, I know that sounds crazy because Zane Durant's projected to go in the 2nd or 3rd round, but he had a unbelievable workout, Damon, at 6'1", 290 pounds. He's super productive. He's a dynamic athlete. He had 40-plus career starts. To me, they need to upgrade their pass rush in the worst way. But they do have Bosa and Huff and McKell in year 2, so they're not totally naked off the edge. But inside, they've got West and Collins, and they're really good run defenders, but they are a little naked as far as interior rushers. Today, they said goodbye to Kalia Davis, and I just kind of feel like they're looking for an interior rusher, and this kid, Zane Durant, is one of the best interior rushers I've seen in a long time. If you put Durant next to West and Collins, I think you've got that 3-tackle triumvirate that anchors your defense going forward. So Zion Young, Zane Durant, Chris Bell, I would say none of them, all of them are going to be there at 27. And I think if I'm the Niners, I'm choosing probably between those 3 guys. And your idea about O-line, I love the O-line early, but I have a feeling they may go O-line in free agency and maybe a tackle late. That would be my guess.
Hey, if they did that and corrected it, good. But then you're still going to run into this who replaces Trent Williams problem. And if you're not willing to groom that player this year, you better be willing to pay $30 million a year the following year for the best tackle in free agency, because that's where that number is going. Tackle is about to be a $30 million a year position, left tackle in football. Like you said, Kalia Davis expected to be released. This guy started all 17 games last year. To me, this should be every reason that CJ West gets up early to work out. I mean, the amount of opportunity and snaps that just came CJ West's way with that release alone, I think is huge. So it's a big opportunity for him. And look, Kalia Davis, he was a good player, but what the price point to bring him back is obviously something the Niners aren't thinking about. Let's talk about a couple
of good against the run. I mean, the bottom line is he's not good against the run. He hadn't stayed healthy a lot in his career. But this is an interesting move. It is an interesting move because they don't have a lot of depth on their defensive front. And to say goodbye to a player who played as much as you just described there, a little bit of a gamble. But I will say this. They must feel like they like certain players either that they can get at those spots, because now they have Collins and West. Jordan Elliott's a free agent. Kalia Davis is walking away. Kevin Givens is a free agent. So you really don't, Damon, you don't have, at defensive end, they have Bosa, McKell right now, Bryce Huff, Sam Aquinu, restricted free agent, Keon White, Robert Beal. So that you have 6 defensive ends, but you only have right now on your roster 2 defensive tackles. So I would say, you know the way this works, Damon. At the end of the year, we talk about they need this, they need that. Their receivers couldn't get any separation. Their offensive line's not nearly good enough. By the time the draft rolls around, they are taking defensive linemen. Just the way it is.
They do it. They do it. I mean,
it's weird. It's like baseball. The Rangers keep signing all these hitters. The Giants always sign pitchers. Why? Because at the end of the day, you kind of get what you value. And if you value pitching, like the San Francisco Giants do, you keep signing pitching. And you're always one more pitcher away. Where if you believe in hitting, you're signing a hitter. They can't sign a hitter. But I mean, the Niners are like the same way. They do not. Heck, Chris Foerster stood up at the podium and told us, hey, you know what? I believe that the guys who really impact the game the most are the guys who touch the football. So I would say that the 49ers are more likely to draft defensive front 7 guys and guys who handle the football, wide receiver, running back, tight end, than they are of drafting offensive linemen. So I'm kind of with you, but I think they feel like they can do it without spending their first round pick on an offensive lineman. And we'll see. I mean, they've had a lot of success. I do like a few, you can find that, you can unearth that 1 or 2 offensive linemen that went late that you really like. And teams do it. It's hard to do, but that looks like that's kind of that seems to be the lane they're comfortable in.
let's just say this, the Maxx Crosby noise that I certainly thought would have died down by now hasn't died down. Now,
Wow.
just because there's a lot of noise being kicked around on the internet doesn't mean there's really anything to it. I don't think the Raiders want to walk away from him. But if some team is willing to give the Raiders 2 future first rounders, yeah, I mean, look at it this way. Who on what team basically isn't available for 2 first round picks? So that is sort of interesting. If the Raiders were to get that from somebody, maybe they do it. I don't think that team is going to be the Niners. And there's too much draft capital on the table to bring in a guy like Maxx Crosby. Plus, you have the old Mark Davis doesn't want to do business with the 49ers things, which I believe still very much exists.
The odds
Trey
are
Hendrickson.
out. The odds
What's
are
that?
out, by the way, on the Crosby. Here are the odds. Commanders are plus 300, 3-1. Titans are 4-1. Pats are 5-1. Niners are next at 6-1, followed by the Cowboys at 7-1, Rams at 8-1, Eagles at 9-1. Niners are lurking. I don't know. That's interesting. That's
Too expensive. Too expensive. If they gave up 2 first round picks for Maxx Crosby, I think that would be a mistake.
I don't think that's the price anymore. Actually, I don't know. I read something this weekend. I can't remember who it was attributable to, but somebody said it was going to be a first and a third. And if it was a first and a third, I think the Niners would be interested.
Let's talk Trey Hendrickson. At 31 years old, it doesn't cost nothing but money to bring him in. I mean, that free agent price, by the way, the floor of that price is $25 million. It's probably going to 30. Who else would be in that bidding war for Trey Hendrickson? Who are you bidding against at $29 million a year for a 31-year-old Trey Hendrickson coming off an injury which restricted his production this past season, but the 2 seasons before that, he was 17.5 sacks in each of those 2 seasons. He is a beast. He would instantly, my God, him and Bosa on the same team, healthy, playing together is, the stuff defensive line dreams are made out of. But that price, Larry, that price would basically mean, so you're not going to go out and sign the veteran wide receivers that you need, since Kyle instantly hates or doesn't trust his rookies or young players at wide receiver. Trey Hendrickson is there, but what about Jalen Phillips, the Colts? Boye Mafe or Kwity Paye of the Chargers, I think are you could have both of those guys maybe for the cost of one Trey Hendrickson. Draymond Jones, who was with the Falcons last season. How interested would the 49ers be in him? Getting inside.
He's interesting.
Yeah, getting inside, Larry. We're not getting younger here, but, $6 million for the last drop out of Jadeveon Clowney? I would think about it if I were the 49ers. Kyle Van Noy going back to the Yatir Gross-Matos well. Cleveland Farrell. I mean, this is how you need to round out a defensive line, that if you're not going to get an awful lot of draft picks involved in it, you're going to have to pay under market prices for guys that have been overlooked a little bit.
Sorry if I seem a little distracted. I've got people sending me notes here. Let me just
We got notes. We got notes.
We got notes.
We got notes.
We've got notes. Wait a second. We've got a newsbreaker. I love the newsbreaker because it lingers. It really lingers. News breaking. The Athletics' Jeff Howe. Are you familiar?
How familiar are you?
Okay. The Athletics' Jeff Howe believes the 49ers are demanding a 2026 first round draft choice in exchange for Mac Jones. Did I call that or not? Did I say? I said they are going to ask for the moon. I mentioned this in a video weeks ago. I'm like, they're going to ask for, 2 day 2 picks and a player. It's going to be a high ask. And now Jeff Howe says they are demanding a first-round pick,
By
which
the way,
is
that's
totally
far,
goes
far
right to
away.
your point, which was totally on point off the rip of the show. If people missed it, Damon said that the Niners saying that they wanted Mac Jones was their kind of negotiation play, and that the rest of the league's negotiation play was, we don't want Mac Jones. We're not all that interested in Mac Jones because we like quarterback whatever, B, C, D, E, F, whatever. And that was just kind of the counter to the Niners deal, ask, or should we call it? I think you're totally right on. This is a negotiation. The Niners are going to ask for the moon, and they should. And you know what? They're going to get it.
Look, you want Ty Simpson? Good luck with that. I'd rather have Mac Jones.
Yeah. Ty Simpson did look good at the combine. He did. But, yeah, you want Drew Aller? Knock yourself out. You want Malik Willis? Knock yourself out. And guess what? There's like 5 teams that want each one of these guys. And there's only one team that can actually get them. We were talking about Trey Hendrickson, though, but before the gong. Trey Hendrickson, from what I've heard in the last 24 hours, it sounds like the Bengals are going to make a big play to keep him.
That comes out of nowhere.
I thought so, too. I thought Shamar Stewart was like, they were drafting Shamar to kind of move on from Hendrickson. So I've heard that Hendrickson back to Cincinnati could definitely be in play. As far as edge pieces, I think the smoke around the Niners is, are they going to go for a big name guy? And you keep hearing Joey Bosa, and Odafe Owe from the Chargers is another big name guy, and Hendrickson, as you mentioned, is the third big name guy. And Crosby obviously would be a fourth big name guy, but that's a trade. So I think Joey Bosa could make some sense, but I think his price still, Bosa's don't give discounts, and the Niners aren't looking for him at full rate. So I would say no to him. And Odafe Owe had an amazing finish with the Chargers this year after coming over in the trade from the Ravens, but I think he's probably beyond their price range.
Let me ask you this, Larry. If you want to reach out to one guy who just played for him, you can only bring one back. Yatir Gross-Matos or Cleveland Farrell? Which one would you want back on the team next year?
Cleve Farrell. Because Cleve Farrell shows up and plays games. And Yatir Gross-Matos looks good and plays very sporadically. Yeah. But, you mentioned Boye Mafe. To me, the interesting names, I did a video on this the other day. The Niners, you're right. I mean, Lynch said, hey, the Niners need their defense, or their emphasis in free agency or whatever is going to be defensive front seven. Okay, defensive front seven. He didn't say D tackle, didn't say D end. He said defensive front seven. So that means either defensive end or defensive tackle. And the big names at defensive end are Joey Bosa, Odafe Owe, and as you mentioned, Trey Hendrickson. I think the more reasonable names for the Niners would be, as you mentioned, Boye Mafe, or maybe even Arnold Ebiketie, who played for Raheem in Atlanta. Who was the guy that you mentioned who played for Raheem? Draymond?
Oh, yeah, Draymond Jones.
Yeah, who's a 280 and 290-pound outside linebacker. I mean, he's a real freaky athlete. He's interesting because he's so athletic. If Chris liked him, that would be an interesting name. But I like Ebiketie and Mafe. And then at defensive tackle, the big names that were mentioned this weekend were, hey, the Niners have interest in John Franklin Myers from Denver. Well, that's a great name, but he's going to get paid a lot of money. I would say the big names here at defensive tackle and free agents here, John Franklin Myers and Sheldon Rankins, who was did a great job for the Texans. But I think the more reasonable or more fitting names for the Niners would be David Onyemata, who played for Morris in Atlanta this year, and he's a veteran interior rusher. I think that's an ideal get. Then you don't go Zane Durant in round one because you took David Onyemata in free agency, or Logan Hall from Tampa Bay, who played at Houston and was a hot first round pick by Jeff Licht not that long ago, and he's a good rusher inside. They need an interior rusher to go with Weston Collins. So
can I throw one idea at you? And let me explain the idea before you go. No, because it's a really easy no. but I don't think the 49ers are in position to be super, super picky. You know, you can't let pretty good pass you by on the way to trying to find perfect. They've got too many holes to fill. I would check in on what I think is one of the distressed assets in all of football, defensive tackle Christian Wilkins. I would check in. He's the little bit of an NFL ne'er-do-well after watching his contract get cut by the Raiders. He had a foot injury. They didn't like the way that he rehabbed it. He rubbed guys the wrong way in that locker room. I don't know what happened in there. I even asked JT the Brick about it. He doesn't know exactly what happened in there, but he played himself off the team in a couple of ways. Well, humble pie will change your taste buds, and he's eaten a lot of it. And he had his guaranteed money basically taken away from him by Las Vegas. He was a very good defensive tackle, and he might be willing to does he have a choice but to take a humble pie contract? If I'm the Niners, I meet with him. I gauge his mentality. I ask him what the hell he did to rub so many teammates wrong. I make him take a physical. And I would guarantee him $6 million and offer a 2-year, $12 million deal and maybe get one of the biggest bargains you could find if he actually showed up as the guy who was a good player in Miami a couple of years ago. I would take a look.
Well, it's interesting. One, it's like there are just certain things that if you do in an NFL locker room, you're persona non grata. And supposedly he did one of those things.
What was that thing, though? What was it?
It's obviously deeply personal in nature, which is why it's not coming out, which is why JT the Brick and others who cover the Raiders who would know the details aren't sharing them. But, there's
let's ask Vic Tafer about this. He was there for that, wasn't he?
There are people that just, there are certain things. I mean, it's not a fair world. Leonard Little ran a red light and killed a mother of 4 in Missouri, driving drunk. But he
played for another 10 years.
But he played again, Joe Mixon punched his girlfriend on camera in a Fridays. We all saw it before the draft. He's played a whole career. So, there's some bad guys doing some bad things, but there are certain things that if you do, you're not welcome in the locker room. And I have a feeling Wilkins did one of those. If you ask me to give you my thought is he's never going to play another snap in the NFL again.
So he's desperate. To get it right.
It's not about money. It's not about money, Damien. It's not about how much money you got to pay him, and it's not about how he played. He played well, and it's not about how much you have to pay him. People are willing. It's about what he did and how it's about what he did and how football players view that. And so he's not going to be welcome inside the locker room, and every general manager.
Whatever you did to rub so many people the wrong way, are we done with that? Did you see how negative that was for your career? Are you a learner? Are you a sentient being? Would you like the last bite of the football apple you'll ever be allowed? You can even have a clause. We cut you automatically if you go back to whatever locker room buffoonery got you in trouble in the first place. I don't know. To me, he's a distressed asset, and if I'm the Niners, I'm looking at distressed assets to try to improve my football team at a price point that allows me to go out and spend more money to improve my team in other places.
Here's one that I would look at if I were the Niners before I look at him. Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs killed a woman and her dog.
Is he even out of jail yet, though?
He's getting arraigned. He's getting arraigned, I think, within a month, and he wants to play again. He's only 27. He's the ultimate burner. He made a huge mistake. Who
knows what he is at this point, though? Who knows? Who
right, but I mean, he was the ultimate burner. He was a 4.2 40 receiver back in the day. I'm just saying, he did something terrible, but he also paid his price. He served his time. And it's like, do you believe in second chances? I do. So I would, but I don't believe in second chances just across the board. And it's not that I have a problem with Christian Wilkins, but I think NFL players have a problem with Christian Wilkins, and I think NFL general managers are aware of the problem that Christian Wilkins has with NFL players. And this is a great example too, because he's definitely good enough to play. But you know what? Michael Sam was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. What did his NFL career amount to? Nothing. So there are situations, it seems like, where if you do something, that crosses a line, betrays a trust, that you're no longer part of the group, and that nobody wants you in there. And if nobody wants you in there, there's no GM that's going to put a player in there that the players don't want in there.
I think it's worth a conversation. I think it's worth a conversation, and it doesn't need to go beyond the conversation. If it's not the right fit, if it's going to rub your otherwise really good vibes locker room the wrong way, I think it's worth a conversation. I want a general manager who will leave no stone unturned, even the ugly ones. So, well,
let's just go beyond that. Let's go beyond that. Beyond, that one. And you mentioned one, Christian Wilkins. I mentioned one, Henry Ruggs. The Niners have to be more inclusive about who's on their board. Now, I have no idea who's on their board and who's not on their board. So I'm saying this with more just kind of my sense of it than real hard facts. Like, I don't know for sure. They could have everybody on their board and they took nobody off. Or they could take all kinds of guys off their board that they don't want any piece of because of criminal behavior or bad attitude or whatever. But Dante Whitner made the point, hey, they got to stop drafting all these choir boys from Harvard and Stanford and get some badass dudes. And you know what? I don't agree with him generally, but I basically do agree that you got to have some badass dudes on your defense. And like, to me, the big difference between the 80 Niners and the 81 championship Niners were 5 badass dudes that they added on defense. Fred Dean, Jack Reynolds, Carlton Williamson, Ronnie Lott, Eric Wright. 1 year, they added a corner, 2 corners, a strong safety. So 3 DBs, 1 second-level guy in Reynolds, who was for younger fans, I had a hard time describing Reynolds, but he's kind of like just a super great run-stuffing inside linebacker. And then Fred Dean. Fred Dean was a Hall of Fame defensive end. They added 5 fearsome defenders who could all really play in 1 year, and that changed things. And I think the Niners are kind of in the same spot right now. They need. You're right. They need offensive line. You're right. They need skill position guys, but they also need those 5 fearsome defenders.
Some badasses, no doubt. And, here we got 49ers Red Zone says, even Fred's a nice guy. Fred Warner is a wonderfully nice guy until it's game day. Then he becomes a football murderer. And that's what you want. I
want Mikhail Kamara.
Yeah, you want guys Monday through Saturday to be gentlemen and then absolute animals on Sunday. There's a day to get all of that bad boy shit out of you, and it's in between the lines, and it's game day. And that's when you want everyone to have a wallet that says bad mother effer on it.
Well, I mean, the Niners won with Charles Haley. Then they gave Charles Haley, who is the exact kind of player we're talking about right now, to Dallas, and then Dallas won.
And then they won.
So, yeah, so I mean, it's like, go get those type players. They added 5 truly fearsome defenders. And the takeaway should also be, look, Jack Reynolds was long in the tooth. It's not like you have to get, 5 awesome future Hall of Famers all in this draft and you got to take them in rounds 1 through 5. No, you can go sign one. Mike Evans might be a terrific addition for the Niners in free agency, and he's a veteran. But I mean, we're talking about defense now, but I mean, if you could find one or two defenders in free agency, maybe one that was a little older, one that's a cheaper price tag, one who's a little younger. You find two or three really good defenders in the draft, and suddenly you look up next year and you're like, dude, we got 5 big-time defensive players that weren't on this defense a year ago. That's why this defense is so much better. So it's doable.
Larry and I have officially reached the conclusion here on Wake Up. Go draft the next Ronnie Lott, and everything should be fine. Yes.
Texans just released Jimmie Ward.
Jimmie Ward, yeah. So he's like sort of considering retirement. I heard that he's enrolled in school again. He's thinking about taking classes. This was the first-round pick in 2014 of the Niners, and I believe he was the longest tenured Niner when he decided it was time to move on to, follow D'Amico to Houston 2 seasons ago. He's had some bad headlines attached to what is a long and respectable career. I don't know if they're going back to Jimmie Ward. But again,
I love Jimmie Ward.
One of
the greatest answers of all time. I'm like, Jimmie, man, you're nasty out there. And he's like, hey, man, like if you hit a guy in his patella, he doesn't move the same the rest of the game, if you know what I mean. And he'll be looking for you. You hit him in his ribs or you hit him in his patella, he'll be looking for you the rest of the day. I'm like, dude, you're playing for keeps.
Yeah, but do you realize you're saying this into a microphone there, Greg Williams? This is how you get suspended talking like this. Anyways, last thing here, Larry, before we hop into a bunch of supers today. And thanks to everyone for dropping supers. Thanks to everyone for being in the chat. Thanks to everyone for hitting like and subscribe on both channels. Let's talk about Deebo's departure because he does not seem to be long for the D.C. metro area. Matthew Berry says, quote, I don't expect Deebo Samuel to return to the Commanders. The team will look to add the wide receiver room with an emphasis on speed. And don't be surprised if 2026 is Terry McLaurin's last year with the team as well. Again, for all the reasons that you and I say don't go back to Deebo, they seem to be among the chief reasons why the Commanders are ready to move on. I like Deebo memories. I liked Deebo's moment. That moment is over. I don't want the 49ers to go back, and I know, Larry, you're very much on the record thinking the same thing.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is,
what's the price?
The bottom line is your receiving core's got to complement one another, right? You can have Deebo, but you've got, they're unique. They're in a unique spot. Why? Because they have so few wide receivers that really all the spots are open. So like they've got to put together a wide receiver core and it's got to make sense. What do you got right now? Okay. And I was looking this up the other day. Right now, Deebo's gone. JJ's walking away in free agency, most likely. So you have Pearsall, Cowing, Watkins, and Demarcus Robinson. Those guys combined for like very few touches last year. So like 35 touches or something like that from those 4 guys. It wasn't a lot of touches. So you're going to have to bring back, you're going to have to find receivers that can contribute right away. And the Deebo one is really interesting. You can have one slow receiver, like one guy that doesn't run well. You can't have Jennings and Bourne and Deebo. You can have Jennings, but no Bourne or Deebo. You can have Deebo, but no Bourne or Jennings. So I think Bourne and Jennings are going to walk away. And I think Deebo there's no doubt that Deebo is going to be a Niner. No doubt. I mean, Lynch has said it. They've hinted
the price
towards
better
it.
Be perfect. The price better be, well, I mean, at that price, why wouldn't you? But then you're right. What you do around him, go get Wendell Robinson if you're going to bring in Deebo too.
I mean, you got to find other guys. What they really need, I mean, think about it. Like if you'd said what they needed in last year, so well, you have JJ and you have Pearsall and you have these other receivers. They need some speed. But now you look at who's left and you're like, the only guys they got are the guys that can run. What they really need is a volume receiver who can run the in-breaking routes, which is why Chris Bell that rumor of Chris Bell, their interest in him is really interesting. But yeah, Pearsall, Cowing, DeMarcus Robinson, and Watkins last year combined 65 total touches for the year. So if they want to go with Deebo, they can. To me, I'm looking at the free agent market. Mike Evans is out there. They're projecting him to get north of $20 million.
Did you see what Mike Evans' mandatory checkoff list is? He needs a team with an entrenched quarterback. So the Niners got that. He needs an offensive-minded head coach. Niners certainly have that. And he says he needs the touches, the opportunity to get these touches. Well, there would certainly be that. But, Kyle doesn't feed anybody in his offense.
He does this year.
You'd think he'd have to almost.
Well, I mean, there's no Kittle, no Deebo, no Ayuk, no JJ. Pearsall's glass. CMC had 450 touches. Juice is ancient. I mean, they need a volume receiver. They need somebody who's going to catch a lot of balls, which is why Wan'Dale Robinson, I think, makes a lot of sense because he's caught 90-plus balls the last 2 years, and all the guy does is run routes and get open. I'm going to give you some names here, though. Mike Evans is an interesting name. Why? Because he wants the ball a ton, and they probably could feed him a ton. That's the interesting name. Some cheaper names: Christian Kirk, Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson, is small, but he's got really good ball skills. I think in a 49er offense, he could be prolific. Wan'Dale Robinson, Romeo Doubs, Derek Young is a special teamer for Seattle who's big and strong. Made a play in the Super Bowl. But Alec Pierce, is going to go for 30 to 32 million per year. I don't know that that's it.
I don't know if he's quite that guy. The same way that I don't know if I don't know if Alec Pierce is a $30 million a year wide receiver, the same way I don't know if Juwan Jennings is a $20 million a year receiver. You know what I mean? I'd
rather have Dobbs. I think Dobbs is to me, if I were running the Niners, I would say goodbye to JJ. If Kyle's like, I gotta have Deebo, fine, Kyle, you can have Deebo. We'll bring Deebo back, and he'll be the slow receiver. And then I would definitely sign a Romeo Doubs or a Wan'Dale Robinson or a Jahan Dotson or something like that. And I would definitely try to find a receiver or that I liked in the draft and maybe even in the trade market.
And then if you like them, feed them. What's crazy here? Do you realize that the 49ers have only had 2 wide receivers that have ever had more than 100 catches?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Terrell Owens and Jerry Rice.
Yeah, it's a lot of catches.
It's a lot of catches for sure. But
what did their leading receiver have last year?
Oh, the 49ers
leading wide receiver.
So whatever there's no way it was 700 yards.
It was a terrible number.
I gotta open up a stat sheet.
I got it here.
I mean, it was, look at it this way: their leading wide receiver last year was Christian McCaffrey.
Right, who had 924 total receiving yards. Their leading receiver had 9 or 8 or what is that? 843? Is that what it is? Maybe even less. 90 targets for JJ. And he had caught 55 of them for, it looks like,
it's not a great catch target percentage, by the way.
No, 643 total yards. That's your number one receiver. Went for 643 total yards.
That's the thing. That's why it's a little silly for you and I, in some ways, to be turning our nose up at Deebo Samuel. Had Deebo been on the Niners last year and produced the same way he did in Washington, he would have led them in catches and yards at the position of wide receiver.
Yeah, and it's not, for me at least, it's not about turning my nose to him. It's just about, hey, I'm listening to you guys, and you guys said we want to be younger, cheaper, faster, leaner, and he doesn't fit any of those things. So, but you're right, as far as it's all about what's the price tag. You get Deebo back on a 1-year deal for $2.5 million, then fine. He signs a 2-year deal at $22 million, and I'm going to lose my S.
Yeah, that's a disaster. For $2 million, he can come out with the boombox open and Trent's happy again and good.
Right. $2 million. Fine. 12 million or anything approaching, anything north of 5 million is going to be like, what?
No.
Why?
I mean, who are you
You
bidding
realize
against?
it's a cap sport?
Who are you bidding against at that price? Who's
Right.
coming for Deebo at $8 million a year? Find me
Right.
that team before you spend that. Jeez.
I would say to his agent, who's I think maybe I'm not sure if it's Rosenhaus, but I'd go to his agent and just be like, "Hey, look, man, we ain't competing against ourselves. Bring me a legitimate offer that somebody else has that he wants to play for, and we'll see what we can do."
I mean, it would be straight up. He's got to want to come back, and he's got to show it at a price point.
Oh, he's desperate to come back. Nobody wants him. Nobody wants him anymore. He's got the Commanders, probably one or two losing teams saying, "Oh yeah, we'll give you a flyer, invite you to camp." Nobody's giving him big money guaranteed, and no contender is, and definitely nobody that he wants to play for. So yeah, if he decides he's got to play for Shanahan, and Shanahan decides he's got to have him back, if you're Lynch, you got to draw that line really, really low dollar figure.
There you go. Be once elbow, whatever that is. These geezers talking about Deebo coming back is nauseating. No one's forcing you to watch, dipshit. It's just that simple. You clicked on the show. We didn't force you here. So enjoy. It's free. Yeah. By the way,
I like how we're geezers now. Suddenly,
geezers.
Seriously,
geezers.
Everybody who's not 9 years old is a fucking geezer.
Right. Have I got a couple sports talk radio stations for you if you like kids?
Yeah, if seriously, I think it's somehow you're super complaining, but you wound up sitting here in our stream. It's amazing how life works. All right,
supers, Larry. Let's hop on it.
Let's hit some supers. Thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. They've been with us all year. Thanks to Sleeper. Sleeper's got their brand new team picks. It's designed to be straightforward and easy to understand. So if you're already on Sleeper for fantasy, it's right there waiting for you. If you're new, Sleeper continues to be an all-in-one platform for following your teams and staying connected to the action. All right, let's thank our sponsors, and we'll bolt for the door. Of course, thanks to Pig and a Pickle, thanks to Novato Chevrolet, thanks to Alomar Marina, and, of course, the links are in the description. Thanks to Sharp Corners, Sports Cards, and Collectibles. Links are in the description for all of our sponsors. But our supers are brought to you by our good friends at Habbas Law. Thank you.
By the way, they're all over the Shark Tank. Habbas is all over the Shark Tank. I brought Jack, Jillian, Ozzy down to their first ever hockey game this weekend, and the Sharks were just wonderful to us, Larry. They gave us so much swag. They gave us a ton of stuff. They were excited that we were down there. And Habbas is all over the Shark Tank and all the banners on the outside.
Oh, not only that. I mean, Habbas is everywhere. I picked up my daughter from the airport last week, the Oakland airport, and as you're driving in, Habbas Law's got a massive sign going into the Oakland airport. So, yeah, Habbas Law, 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. And by the way, check them out because Macklin Celebrini has a brand new commercial. That's the Sharks' new megastar, where he teamed up with Omar and Tarek Habbas of Habbas Law for a new series of TV commercials. They're very proud of those commercials, and check them out. So 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. HabbasLaw.com on the web. If you need a good attorney, make one phone call, and you have one there in Habbas Law. All right, Fuji Simeon, any day 2 or day 3 pick wide receiver with speed that you like. Yes. Here's a day 3. First of all, there's a couple, but Jeff, the guy who had the most amazing weekend at the combine was the Cincinnati kid, Jeff Caldwell. He's 6'5", 216 pounds. He ran in the 4.3s. Yeah, I love Jeff Caldwell, and I've been talking about him for a while, but Caldwell's a monster. I also love Ted Hurst. I think he's probably more of a day 2 receiver out of Georgia State. Love him.
You see that Xavier Thomas out of LSU? The guy ran like a 4.28.
Yeah, the 2 LSU burners are great. There's some day 3 burners. Like, give you some examples. Xavier, you just said his name, Xavier Brown, is that it?
Thomas.
Xavier Thomas. Xavier Thomas. There's Barryon Brown. Both play for LSU. Both run incredibly fast. Malik Benson from Oregon. Another super day 3 burner. I'll give you a sleeper receiver on day 3 that I really like. Dylan Bell from Georgia. Just a really good receiver at Georgia. And, man, He tested out just well enough. He looked good in the All-Star games. He's going to play in the NFL, and he's going to play well. Remember that name, Dylan Bell. We got this one from Joseph Ernberg. Bryce Lance will redeem the Lance name here. My guess is the Niners steer clear. Though they like the family. They like the family, but I think they're going to steer clear. 49er Hal. I'm not convinced Mack is better than Darnold. Mack is amongst the worst deep throwers in the league, which means passing lanes underneath become more congested and more pressure on the running game. All right.
I think evaluating his deep throwing prowess from his 1 year where he got significant snaps on the Niners is a little bit of a false predictor, right? I mean, who was your deep target? Who was there to even throw to? He didn't have the time, nor did he have the target to really look deep. So I wouldn't.
Who was his receiver, number one receiver in the games that he played? Bourne was given up for dead by the Patriots for nothing. He's just Bourne's a guy who can't run anymore. The Niners had nothing at receiver. They had nothing at receiver all year. When they got into the game against Seattle, it was abundantly clear. The Niners offensive line got whipped up front, but they had nobody to throw it to. Brock had some time to get it out, but he had nobody. Nobody was open. They had no receivers to speak of. So, yeah.
I mean, it's fair to say, though, I'm not convinced Mack is beher than Darnold. Look, we haven't. Why would you be? The one guy just won the Super Bowl and didn't turn the ball over once in the postseason to do it. So, yeah. No, Mack
most people are with you.
Darnold.
Yeah, I think he absolutely is. But you know what? That's
not yet. He's not. I mean, here's the thing: go somewhere and do it. Go somewhere and do it. Win 2 Super Bowls to be better than Darnold, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying. What we saw this year. It's like it's not as simple as Darnold won it. He's great. It's not that simple,
right? No,
if it was that simple. Then Jalen Hurts is better than Patrick Mahomes, and we know he's not. Lyle Bolyard says, we all know that you win in the trenches. If the 49ers don't fix the offensive and defensive line, Kyle and John Lynch will never win a Super Bowl.
If Monroe Freeling's there at 27 and they don't draft him, Larry, I'm going down. I'm going down and I'm breaking into that war room and I'm punching people.
We got this one from who does too much music, too much sauce? Too much sauce. Should we get a guard or a tackle? I mean, you need a left guard.
Play him at guard.
I mean, personally, I think you need two. I would definitely come out of this draft with my future. To me, the future left tackle. I love Emil Wagner from Notre Dame, but I would take him in the mid rounds. And as far as guard, I would find a guard that I really liked. I mentioned the guy from Georgia, but I wouldn't invest a high picks in the lineman. But I definitely would come out of this draft with a couple linemen. Ernberg says, what would it take to get Cignetti as our head coach? LOL.
It's not, well, first of all, it would take about 16 to 18 million a year because as of right now, Cignetti, I believe, is the second highest paid coach in all college football. And you need a time machine. He'd need to be a younger man to want to do it.
Steve says, if it were on the table, would you replace Kyle with Cignetti? Would Cignetti be an upgrade from Kyle? No, I don't think so at all. These Cignetti got an amazing amount of talent to show up at Indiana. I mean, they're really good. I mean, Rourke was really good. Mendoza went first. The running back's a stud. The receiver's great. The blocking tight end is great. The defensive end is fantastic. The defensive tackle who didn't even come out in the draft, that kid's amazing. What's that guy's name? The big defensive tackle, kind of short, fast. They just got dudes. Bonds is a stud.
You want to see how good Cignetti is? Wait until you see Josh Hoover. Josh Hoover is going to be IU's next quarterback. He transferred in from TCU as the nation's leading passer. And wow. I think he's about to have a monster year at IU. Monster year. With Charlie Becker still being there as a wide receiver. We
shall see. I mean, they got a lot of talent. Ben Diesel said they need to find Trent's replacement this offseason, regardless if he stays or goes. They can't afford another subpar draft. Yeah, that's for sure.
I think these supers came in during my offensive line rant, which means they're all accurate.
Jerry Martinez. Brock can make a great wide receiver out of any ordinary veteran. Also has experience running routes. Just look at what he did for Jawan Jennings. We don't need to spend on name players to succeed. I agree with this. They do not need to go. I mean, it would be awesome to have Jerry Rice. It'd be awesome to have Jamar Chase. It'd be awesome to have Justin Jefferson. They don't have to have that. They have to build up the trenches, build up their linebacking core, build up their depth, have a receiving core that makes sense, and have multiple guys that can catch the ball. I mean, Seattle had the best receiver, but he didn't do a lot in some of their playoff games, and they still won. So it's not they didn't. Right. It wasn't like they rode JSN to the Super Bowl. They didn't. They had JSN.
Gray Zabel was out there playing every game, wasn't he?
Yeah, Zabel was out there, but I mean, they also got a lot out of Shaheed. They got a lot out of Barner. They got it's like you can find other guys. We got this one from what does it say? I can't even read that.
Riker
Trav. Hello, Damon and Larry. Thank you. You're great.
Thank you.
It's a lot of thank yous.
We were just all geezers, so we're doing something right.
Michael, round one, go with the best weapon available, Casey Concepcion, Kenyon Sadiq. I don't think Sadiq's going to be there. Round two, go with the best interior O-lineman. Round three, go with Perkins or Zane Durant. I do love.
I'll say this: Sadiq played himself into a top 15 pick. He ran like the wind. So he's way gone, and he'd be the wrong pick anyways. So look,
the bottom line is if anybody's special, it doesn't matter what position you draft as long as you get a great player. If Sadiq is going to be the greatest tight end in pro football, then yeah, draft Sadiq. I mean, it's not, to me, it's more about get a great player than fill a need, because if you get great players, then all of a sudden the rest of the team looks pretty good. Fuji says, any large moves, rugs, or any
large money rugs,
rugs
would be for seizure in the civil lawsuit, wrongful death lawsuit. He might need to file for bankruptcy. Well, Fuji, I mean, when you do what he did, your entire life is going to be turned upside down for the remainder of your life.
Yeah, no doubt. Tyler Bolyard, if the 49ers are offered a first rounder for Mac, no questions asked, you take it. Oh, of course.
Oh, the speed of light.
Absolutely. And you know what? They don't want a first round pick. They want to make sure they get a hot top 50 pick. And so how do you make sure you get a top 50 pick? You demand a first round pick. We have this one from Ty. He says, if York could brush off the substation controversy like he has done, 49ers can take a swing on Christian Wilkins, keep that same energy, sign him. Yeah, I don't. As I said, I'd be very surprised if Christian Wilkins plays again. I just feel like he won't. Fuji. Oh, off topic, Larry. How was spring training? Takeaways? Well, yeah, a couple takeaways. One, man, the difference between the weekend and the weekdays are off the charts in everything. In the weekends, the place is absolutely packed.
The World Series game.
It's a World Series game. I mean, it's like I paid $104 for a lawn seat for Dodgers Giants on the weekend.
What?
And the Dodgers have nobody there. Then the next day, yesterday we went to Giants White Sox at Camelback Ranch. It was like $20. It's like $20 for this. And there was nobody there. There was nobody at the White Sox game on Monday. Nobody at the Giants game on Thursday when they played Colorado. It was totally empty.
Though?
Scottsdale does pretty well.
Scottsdale is where everybody wants to be. That's why Giants games are so expensive. And the Giants have also been in the Cactus League like forever. They're the Yankees of the Cactus League in a way. So
yeah, I mean, there's the Cub fans and there's, Dodgers have their fans. But I mean, the variable pricing is really amazing. I mean, like 22 as opposed to 120 for a spring training game. And it's like, I don't know it's not worth it to spend the variable pricing because the Dodgers didn't bring Ohtani.
Dude, you're working at KNBR. How are you paying $1 for a ticket? How are you not getting gifted tickets, dude?
Well, I didn't ask for gifted tickets. I got credentials for my entire time, so I didn't buy a
It's
ticket
the
for
thing. If you
myself.
want to bring the boys and the kids and the family, yeah, don't ask for that. But I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I got a credential to every game, but I got tickets for my guys, and then I bought tickets for myself on the last day because I was just saying, I just want to sit in the stands. But I was going to say, as far as takeaways, Giants have an outfielder named Bo Davidson, who is a really good looking young outfielder who's going to be up this year, and he looks fantastic. Luis Matos is looking really, really good. Chapman, Schmidt, these guys are looking really, really good. The Giants pitching.
did Bader do anything while you were there?
Yeah, no, Bader is looking really good. I mean, the Giants also have an outfielder named Vic. There's a couple guys that really caught my eye. An outfielder named Victor Barracoto is just ripping down there right now. He is killing it. He looks really, really good. But this Bo Davidson is a legit outfield prospect. I mean, we're talking about 6'3", great bat speed, good throwing arm, can play center, can play right. He looked really good. I would say the guy who really didn't look good was Hayden Birdsong. Hayden Birdsong's just getting absolutely ripped down there. So I don't think the Giants have enough pitching depth either in the rotation or in the bullpen. But Tony, I like Tony. Had a chance to talk to Tony.
Yeah. What were your impressions when you got up close with him?
Well, he too many college references. Everything's about, well, in the SEC we did it this way, and Arkansas had I think that's gonna wear like shit. I really did.
That's his only reference point. I mean, that's what the hell else does he know? So
there's that, but the players really seem to like him. There's a good energy about it. Buster has added Kurt Casale to his brain trust, the former
backup catcher.
And I'll say this right now. If you can go find the manager, like the next manager of the Giants odds somewhere, if you could bet Kurt Casale, you should.
So we're already taking odds on next manager that doesn't speak well for Tony.
Well, I'm just saying, if there's a chance, there's a chance that this whole thing, I mean, first of all, the Giants aren't very good, right? I mean, they're not as good as the Dodgers. They don't have great pitching depth. I think they're going to be competitive.
Let's talk about
what happens what if it falls apart? If it falls apart in the first 82
wins, they're 72 to 82 win team. They'll just be right in the middle again.
I mean, to me, I think losing Tyler Rogers and Randy Rodriguez out of your bullpen, two of the most rubber arm guys that you used a ton last year, and not really replacing them with much, I think is like, what are you thinking? Yeah. What are they thinking there? But the Giants to me look like 75 wins. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like a 75 win team. Now they're winning in spring training, but if you said, what are they going to win? I think my guess would they're going to win 75 games, and their pitching depth is just not nearly enough. But you are going to see, some better offense.
Has anyone signed Framber Valdez yet? Is he just still out there?
No, he's signed. He went to Detroit, I think.
That's too bad.
Yeah. So no Framber, but I will say this, the Giants do have some interesting, that kid that they got in the Rodgers trade. I think his name's Jesus Rodriguez. He's a backup catcher. He rakes. I mean, he definitely was swinging the bat well. I mean, they got some interesting players there. Another guy to keep an eye on.
From Texas Tech.
Yeah. The other guy to keep an eye on is Will Bednar, who was the former first-round pick of the Giants a few years ago. And his brother, David Bednar, is the Yankees closer. Will Bednar, I talked to in the clubhouse. This guy, went through hell, had a bunch of injuries, first-round draft choice, thought he was going to, out of Mississippi State, thought he was going to skyrocket to the big leagues. Didn't happen. Had some major injuries, and now is back. He's figured it out. And this guy's arsenal is big time. I mean, a fastball, slider, curve. But I mean, mid-90s fastball with a lot of break, a lot of movement. So I don't know. The Giants don't really have a closer yet, but look for Will Bednar, their former first-round pick, at some point to surface in the big leagues this year. He looks like, he's been through hell and back, but he's coming out the other side, and he looks pretty good. So, yeah, it was an interesting camp for sure. I got a chance to watch 4 games in a row, so that was kind of cool. And I think overall the Giants, I like Tony, but I would say the Giants look like 77 wins, just because there's just not enough. There's not enough pitching depth.
Here's the thing: there's 77 wins if Willie Adames and Devers both have really good years. If they don't get good years out of their established players, and it's you, Chapman, it's you finally, Jung Hoo Lee, that's when they get in trouble.
Carson Whisenhunt was throwing 97, 98, so that was a great sign. And I'm just looking at their roster if there's anybody else that really kind of jumped out. Bryce Eldridge, is he going to go north or not? That's kind of a question mark. I'll say this: Christian Koss was ripping it down there. He was hitting line drives all over the yard. Whatchamacallit, Matos is got a chance to make the team. Ramos has gotten married. He hit one out to right field the other day that looked amazing. So yeah, it's an interesting team this year. I would say they look like 77 wins unless they can find some surprise pitching depth. All right, we got this one. What does that say? Go ahead and read that. Or if we can, I can't read the name, but
it's Mabo O Pek Pek Mo.
That's why I couldn't read. If we can address the O-line via free agency, it'll open up the draft for us. Who would you draft, trade up for? What if we get 2 firsts because of Mac? Who we getting? It's.
I don't think there's any trade up scenario.
Yeah, the big debate is going to be, to watch for is how far does Ruben Bain fall with his short arms? The guy's awesome. And he had 30-inch arms. So, that's like a good 2 inches too short. And nobody's ever been awesome, seemingly, as an edge rusher with really short arms. But I would say the 49ers most likely trade back from 27. But if not, I'd say they're looking at a group of defensive tackles that I think that they're going to go after. My guess, Caden McDonald, Ohio State, going to be very attractive to them. Caleb Banks, Florida, going to be very attractive to them. Peter Woods, Clemson, going to be very attractive to them. Lee Hunter, Texas Tech. I would say Zion Young, maybe if you're looking for a defensive end, but my guess is defensive tackle, and one of those guys that I just named there most likely would be their target. We got this one.
Harry Johnson. Whenever you can communicate with Harry Johnson.
If Deebo comes back, he's got to wear 19 again. He's been trash since the change numbers.
I mean, it's out there, right?
Come on, man. Lyle Bolliard, tell me one free agent on offense and defense that you would sign. I'll give you a free agent on offense and defense that I would sign. On offense, I would sign Romeo Doubs because your receiving core is absolutely a wasteland of nothingness. And this guy catches a lot of third down catches, a lot of touchdown catches. He's a chain mover. He's a continuity piece. I think he's a better player than he ever showed in Green Bay. So that would be the offensive player.
Mine would be Wendell Robinson. That to me is the gettable, not top shelf liquor price of Alex Pierce. I would be looking Wendell Robinson.
As far as defensively, I'll say Tariq Woolen or Boye Mafe. I think you really got to somehow stick it to Seattle a little bit. If you could get a couple of their guys off their defense and do something with them, I think Woolen makes a lot of sense. He's a gigantic corner. He's 6'4", 6'5". He runs great. And you know what? If he was like some head case, it would be one thing. But like I looked at his career at Seattle and I expected him to play exactly the way he played, which was up and down. Why? Because he converted while he was in college from, I think he played 2 years of wide receiver and then he played corner. So you're looking at a player who's only played corner for a couple of years and he's jumbo, right? He's 6'4" and he's got great speed. So he's got some smothering traits, but you knew there was going to be some bumps in the road, and there have been some bumps in the road. And that's why I think he's not being franchised or not being signed, because he's given up some bad plays. He's had some penalties. But you know what? When you really look at it, you knew there was going to be a learning curve there. And so I think his best football's coming. Tariq Woolen would be the guy I'd go after.
Yeah, I mean, that would be taking someone from Seattle. It's a big guy. Here's the thing. The reason why I wanted to do a segment about D'Angelo Pons and what a fit he would be for the 49ers. But with Upton Stout already on the team, I think D'Angelo Pons is just a little too short, because you got your slot of the future. And to have Pons just out on the corner in the NFL.
He's great, though. He's great.
He's great. He's great. He's a dog. I love him for so many reasons. His vert was, I think, one of the best verts ever recorded this century at the Combine. He's an athlete for sure, but you can't be the same way that you need wide receivers to complement each other. I think you need corners and players in the secondary to complement each other, and having two ultra small corners, I think, is asking for a little bit of trouble.
To me, after watching the Combine, the corner that I think could be staring them in the face right there at 27 is Chris Johnson from San Diego State. Very, very tough, very physical, great player. 6 feet, 193, but he's a great player.
By the way, what is Tariq Woolen? Is he 6'3", 6'4"? What is he?
He's like 6'5". He's like 6'4". He's between 6'4" and 6'5". He's huge.
Big dude.
Yeah, been one of the biggest corners in history, really. We have this one, Harry Johnson. Glad we aren't bringing back Yatir Gross-Matos, Elliot Davis, mediocre dudes. Reminded me a lot. Remind me of guys like Tony, Gerard Eddy, and DeMarcus Dobbs. Yeah, I agree. You can find guys in the draft. I could find guys in the draft that are better than those guys, for sure. And definitely on day 3. Remember the name Caleb Proctor. I know a lot of people talk about Caden Proctor, but Caleb Proctor is had a great combine as an interior rusher at about 285 pounds. I think Southeast Louisiana State, something like that. All right. Thanks to Habbas Law, 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. HabbasLaw.com on the web. Damon, I'll give you the final word before we bolt for the door. What do you got cooking the rest of the day?
So it's funny. The rest of the day, I've got a couple meetings that I'm going to. So this is the show today. So watch it 2-3 times, and watch it all over on the Plus. But please like and subscribe to both of these channels if you would. And we thank everyone for being here. And we're going to be back at it on Friday morning. So we'll see you again then. Larry, again, congratulations. I'm glad that you had a great trip down to Scottsdale with the boys, with the family. That's a wonderful time. And back at it on Friday, boys and girls. We'll see you there, hopefully, for Wake Up.
Yeah. By the way, Damon will be for me the rest of the day. I'll be streaming at 3 with Grant Cohn. At 6 o'clock, I'll have Niners Nightly. And I'm not sure who the guest is tonight, but Damon is going to join us on Niners Nightly later on this week. So really fired up for that. And we'll talk more about that as we get closer. But
there must be snowing down below. Somebody's got with a snowball in hell. It's frozen over. Oh my gosh!
So later on this week, you will hear Damon Bruce returning to KMBR, and I even mentioned that to a guy at Scottsdale Stadium yesterday, who was like, "I'm really happy to hear that." So the guy who's taking our tickets or in the morning, I went to go talk to Tony V, the guy at Scottsdale Stadium. Was like, hey, I love that wake up show you do with Damon. I'm like, all right, well, Damon's gonna be on Niners Nightly. He's like, oh, really? When's that? I'm like, this week maybe. So there you go.
How about that? We'll
have more to talk about as we get closer to that. But anyway, for Damon, I'm Larry.
Because they take themselves lightly.
Thanks to everybody. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.